Hello, Ragu. I got a day 3 here with John 10. And the first thing that stood out to me for this one is Jesus talking about climbing in another way into the sheepfold. And what Jesus is talking about here is because he is the door and people are climbing in another way. He's talking about people talking about knowing God or getting salvation without Jesus, without going through Jesus. Um, and so, Jesus even says, they are a thief or a robber. They are going to harm and they are going to destroy. The only people that can truly point to God is if they go through Jesus. For example, if there is like a pastor or a friend or someone in authority that says, "Hey, I know how people can be saved. I know how people can be made right with God," and if they don't tell you it's through Jesus, they are wrong. They are the thief or the robber. They're going to steal your joy, to steal your relationship with God. And the second thing I found interesting is that Jesus says that he calls his sheep by name. And so when you're a Christian, it isn't some far off relationship like with a celebrity. You're like, oh, I know them and they vaguely know me. No, Jesus knows your name. He knows you. Um, and then also in this passage, the other thing I answered was a promise to claim. What promises can you claim from this passage? In verse 28, I got that Christians will never perish. No one can remove us from God's hand. No one can remove us from God's family. When you become a part of God's family, it's not like you messed up so bad you're no longer part of God's family, or someone else is strong enough to take you out of God's family. No, when we are God's, we are God's, and nothing will ever change that. And so you don't have to worry about not being good enough. And then verse 15, Jesus doesn't leave us. Instead, he lays down his life for us. In this passage, it was talking about the hired hand who doesn't care about the sheep. And so when dangers or struggles come, he just leaves. But it contrasts that with Jesus saying, no, when there's dangers or struggles, Jesus lays down his life so we don't have to die. And that's exactly what he did on the cross. And I think that's just so interesting that is how much he loves us, that he just won't leave. And then the last thing I pulled out of here is that some people are going to say, hey, Jesus was just a good man, but he never claimed to be God. And we clearly see that they're wrong in verses 28 to 30. Jesus claims to be God. The reason that the Jews and the crowd get so upset and accuse him of blasphemy is him saying, I and the Father are one. And blasphemy basically means claiming to be God. And so, he says all those things, and they say, hey, we are accusing you of blasphemy, we are going to arrest you. And he doesn't say, no, you're wrong. Instead, he goes, hey, it is right for you to call me the Son of God. He doesn't deny that he is God. And so in this passage, it's very clear that Jesus is claiming to be God, and we should hold on to that truth dearly.